Out of the death and violence in Ferguson, Missouri this summer, a turn to be a media star for a man named Sean Parcells.
First of all, I'm Professor Sean Parcells.
He dazzled with details on the private autopsy of Michael Brown.
2 gunshot wounds to the head, indicating that Mr. Brown was bending over as they were coming down it.
We're back with Sean Parcells, who assisted in the autopsy of Michael Brown.
Now Sean Parcells.
Even here on AC 360,
Parcells, thank you very much.
He's appeared in the media time and again as a forensic pathology expert. We know he assisted Dr. Michael Baden in the private autopsy commissioned by Michael Brown's family. Baden said he was a good assistant. Parcells is not a doctor. We know he calls himself a forensics medical consultant, a medical investigator, and a professor. But is he what he says he is?
So you call yourself a professor?
Yes.
Where are you a professor?
I'm an adjunct professor at Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas.
But that, as far as we could tell, isn't accurate. We contacted Washburn University. They say while he has spoken to nursing students, he's not now and never been an adjunct professor there.
Washburn University says that's not true.
Okay, I have a contract that states that it is true.
Can you show us that contract?
I can.
But he never sent us that contract showing he was an adjunct professor. He later said it was proprietary.
I see him as a fraud. I mean, that's the best word I would say describes Sean Parcells to me.
How about you?
Manipulator.
Very good con artist is the way I'd put it.
In Missouri, Deputy Sheriffs Grant Gillette and Dustin Jeffords say Sean Parcells performed an autopsy procedure in a criminal case without a doctor present.
So he introduced himself as a pathologist, as a medical doctor.
That is correct.
And he seemed believable.
Very well.
So, yes.
I mean, you two are both experienced law enforcement officers, and even you were duped.
Yeah, that's right.
The deputies say without a medical doctor's signature on Robert Forrester's autopsy report, it's not valid.
It's been more than 2 years since the crime. Can you move forward with the prosecution?
We cannot move forward at this time with that case at all.
Why not?
Because the autopsy was not performed legally, so we cannot use any evidence found from the autopsy in a court of law to be used to prosecute any suspects on the case.
That means, according to the deputies, Bobby Forrester, suspected of killing his grandfather, was set free, and he went on to beat up his grandmother. Sean Parcells says he never told the deputies he was a doctor.
If they want to think I'm a doctor, that's their issue. People assume stuff all the time, and they may never ask. It's bad that they're assuming and that they never ask.
Parcells, who has a bachelor's degree, says he's supervised by medical doctors, but sometimes they're not present when he performs an autopsy procedure.
So you do autopsies where there's not a pathologist or an MD anywhere in the room?
At times. Sometimes the pathologist is there, and sometimes they're not.
You're not an MD?
I'm not an MD.
But it's legal for you to be cutting up bodies, taking organs out, making observations?
Yes.
This, even though a letter on his own company's letterhead states unequivocally that during each and every forensic autopsy conducted, the attending pathologist is present at all times. We always have the attending pathologist present and directing the autopsy examination. And if you think that's shocking, the owner of this funeral home says Parcells promised to arrange for an autopsy on the remains of an unidentified body, but didn't show up for more than a week. Maggots appeared. And where's that body now? Phelps County Deputy Coroner Lennox Jones would love to know. He says he's not heard from Parcells in more than a year. When we asked Parcells, where's the body, we got a barrage of obscenities.
Lennox Jones says that he's never heard back from you.
He has. Holy excuse my language, but I got emails to prove him and I going back and forth, and the fact that he ignores me. He's a You want to be truthful? He is a and I'm sorry to cuss like this on your cameras, but this particular case pisses me off.
Parcells added that the coroner can pick up the body from his morgue in Topeka anytime. So with coroners and law enforcement so angry, why haven't they gone after him? Dr. Mary Case, chief medical examiner for St. Louis County, says prosecutors might be worried. She says some of them may have used his autopsy reports to get convictions they don't want overturned.
It could be a problem for that prosecuting attorney if that prosecutor has prosecuted somebody based upon Shaun's findings, of course, that's a problem.
For the prosecutor.
For the prosecutor.
So no one wants to go after him.
No one has. No one has to this point.
All right, Elizabeth Cohen joins me now live. Elizabeth, if there are so many questions, so many alleged issues, why do counties keep using this guy's services?
You know, John, we asked that question, and officials in Kansas and Missouri said, look, he charges less than his competitors. And these are small counties. They're financially strapped. Even just saving a few $100s here and there, they said is a big deal.
Comes down to money. Have any of the counties that he's worked for taken any action against him?
You know, John, we know of one county in Missouri that did. They went to the state licensing board and they said, we thought we were getting a pathologist, and Sean Parcells performed the autopsy without a pathologist present. Now the board investigated and they closed the case without doing anything. They didn't tell us why, but John, I'll tell you that officials that we talked to there said, look, licensing boards are not necessarily going to be able to do anything because Sean Parcells, by his own admission, doesn't have a license to do anything, so they can't take that license away.
Ladies and gentlemen, there was a reason why I showed you that clipping from CNN. That was from 2014. And this is Sean Parcells. And the reason why I showed you that clip is to prove a point. This man was parading around as an autopsy doctor. He was involved in reviewing the Michael Brown case. And that's what you see up on the screen. And this was the autopsy of Michael Brown. He went on all this time doing autopsies when he wasn't supposed to. He's not even a doctor. And he was on TV as an expert. And they knew about this even back in 2014. He is just getting convicted in 2021. Look at how long it took them to go after this guy. So this came out in Raw Story. Fake autopsy doctor reviewed Michael Brown shooting, gets convicted on 6 charges. Report. On Friday, the Kansas Reflector reported that Sean Parcells, the unqualified autopsy professor who conducted a review of the police shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, has been found guilty in Kansas on 3 counts of felony theft and 3 counts of misdemeanor desecration of bodies. Parcells, who lived in Topeka and Leawood, was convicted in Wabash County jury of illegal obtaining money from the county to perform autopsies in 3 cases. He also was deemed guilty of violating state law by performing autopsies without a pathologist present. The violation of state law occurred in 2014 and 2015. Reported Tim Carpenter. Sentencing for Parcells, 42, was scheduled for January 10th. The case was prosecuted by the Attorney General's Fraud and Abuse Litigation Division and the Wabash County Attorney. The report continues. Parcells has worked in a number of county offices to offer cut rate and often botched death investigations, despite admitting to having no medical training of any kind. So he was cutting bodies open, removing organs, and doing all kinds of things he was not even qualified to do. He has introduced himself as a professor despite having any claim to that title. So as you saw in that video, they verified his background. He wasn't even a professor. Not a doctor, not a professor, none of those titles that he bestowed upon himself. So, and has said if you want to think I'm a doctor, that's their issue. No, you made people believe you had some type of expertise. You did that. You know, he's doing just what we seen Jenna Ryan do. You're guilty of doing these things, but you're trying to deflect and act like you're getting a raw deal when you're not getting one at all. In addition to state charges, Parcells was charged by federal prosecutors in 10 counts of wire fraud last November, just committing all kinds of crime. All kinds of crime. But they knew about this guy. Look at how many years it took them to go after this man, and they knew about him back in 2014, as you saw in the video. That's why I was showing it to you. So, damn near 7 years it took them to charge this man and do something about him. Unbelievable. Only in America. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Privilege is a hell of a drug. Peace, family.